how does a man in 2023 attract women? Now, I would say for the most part, throughout the whole span of human history, there's been fluctuation on what is attractive to the opposite sex. It fluctuates, but I would feel like overall, I'd say about 50% of it has stayed the same throughout the history of time, which is amazing. Which means that I know a lot of men complain about, back in the olden days, all I had to do was work a job, work a 9 to 5, and provide for my family, and I could get a woman. That's somewhat true. I guess times have changed, but nonetheless, there are still things that throughout the span of human history, has stood the test of time on what is attractive to the opposite sex. And for this instance, I'm talking to the boys out there on how to attract females. So how do you attract women in 2023? It's the same way you attract women in 1908 or 1764 or since the beginning of time. There have been things that men can do or attributes men have that would attract women. So we're going to go over those that have stood the test of time, not the things that fluctuate. So, like different fashions and like different trends. We're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the things that have been consistent throughout the years. So, one, which is purely biological and has undoubtedly a attractive feature in a man, or attribute you could say. It is a man who is capable of violence, a man who can fight, a man who is strong. Now, what does that mean? It doesn't mean a dickhead who runs around trying to pick fights with everyone, who is aggressive, because overly aggressive people are actually emotional, and that's very feminine, actually. And I don't know if that's going to offend anybody, but it is just a natural, biological fact. Women are more emotional, men are more statistical, logical. And both of them, those aren't good or bad. Having emotions is good, having logic is good. That's why men and women complement each other. So back to the point, a man who's capable of violence. This is a biological trigger. As a woman, you want a man who can fight, who can protect her. A man who's also capable of violence. Those are similar, but not exactly the same thing. A man who can fight, boxers can fight, usually big, strong guys who are overly muscular can fight just off the fact that they're bigger. That's not exactly the same as a man who's capable of violence. There could be some shy guy who has no confidence, who knows how to box, who trains, but doesn't want to get into a fight, still is kind of timid. And I would argue that if you get into boxing, it's going to be hard work, it's going to be tough. That's probably just going to make him stronger and tougher internally and externally. But regardless, you can know how to fight and still be timid and not capable of violence. You want to be capable of violence. What that means is you don't want to be afraid of violence. You don't want to go to it. You don't have to go to it, but when you need to, you can. And that is one biological trigger that has been attractive in men ever since the dawn of time. And a lot of women might say nowadays, oh, I don't like a man who fights. That's not true. What they're saying is they don't like men who are overly aggressive and start picking fights with every guy, who are insecure. Those guys are insecure, they're overly aggressive, which means they're overly emotional. They're letting their emotions dictate when to fight. As a true, strong man, you fight when it is necessary. And so that's one, being capable of violence. Number two is a strong, bigger man. So what I mean by strong, what I mean by bigger. Strong, I mean internally and externally, which kind of coincide with each other. Strong mind, strong body, it goes hand in hand, almost. Like I'd say 90% of the time. The other thing, which is a big man. What do I mean by that? I don't mean a fat man. I don't mean a dad bod. I don't mean any of that. You don't even have to have a six-pack. You don't have to have defined pecs. Just a man who is bigger, broad shoulders, tinier waist, the triangle, usually, and throughout the span of human history, women have found attractive. Women find this shape in a man attractive. Broad shoulders, tiny waist. Not like a little Kronk waist, but a tinier waist compared to the strong shoulders. So you don't even have to have a tiny waist. It's just get broad shoulders, and that will go out that like that, and the waist will stay the same. So it's going to be like this. That is attractive. And also, I hate to break it to any of the short kings out there, taller guys are going to be more attractive generally. And again, in the whole specifics of finding a woman and getting the right partner, I guess height doesn't play that much of a difference, but if you're talking about your value as a man to the whole, and what has stood the test of time and what is attractive in a man, yes, taller men are going to be more attractive. That doesn't mean a short man can't be successful with women. Like, look at Kevin Hart, for instance. I'm sure he can get loads of women just because of his status, his charm, his charisma. He obviously is funny, and he has tons of money. But all of that helps him, obviously. But if you take Kevin Hart with all the money, all the fame, all the giggles, who is 5'5", and you take a Kevin Hart in a different life who is 6 foot with all the other things, more women are going to pick this guy. And is it unfair to guys who are short? Yes, because there's nothing you can do about it. It is purely genetic. But at the same time, if it's not something that's your fault, then you shouldn't be complaining about it. Because it's not your fault. The only thing you can do is build yourself up as a man to become more attractive to women. Anyway, so that's another thing and this is more, again, of just having a big, strong man who can protect and provide. Those are signs. Again, a man who is strong physically is strong mentally too. Women also want men to confide in. They're emotional, like I said, and they want someone to keep their mind at peace whenever they have troubles. They want to go to a man who is emotionally stable, who is strong internally, so they can help them with their problems. You don't want two overly emotional people coming to each other when no one is there to help the other one. If they're both emotional and both have their problems, no one's going to be able to come to anyone. So those are just two basic things. Like I said, they stood the test of time throughout human history. So if you're a man, that's what you want to do. I would suggest build your confidence, which will build your ability to commit violence if needed. Again, if needed. Do not go out there and try to be a tough macho guy because that is feminine. Don't do that. So how do you become capable of violence? Just, again, build your confidence. And then I would say if you want to, you can start boxing, some mixed martial arts just to learn how to fight somehow. That would help. But it's not necessary. Just build your confidence is the main thing. And the second thing would be big, strong man. Again, build your confidence, build your inner strength. But you can also do that while building your external strength, which is going to the gym. I preach going to the gym so much. It is one of the best things you can do as a man, and it will help your life tremendously. So I would definitely get those two things down. If you're still not attracting women, there's some other things you can improve on, but get these two basic building blocks down first, which makes you a man in the core, and then you can get other things down like your game, your looks, and all that stuff. Anyway, this has been your boy Hercules with another video. Subscribe if you like the video. Peace.